Hello again and welcome back to the studio. When we're practicing and doing small studies, it can be helpful to take images and break them down into small, manageable shapes. To save ourselves some time and energy, we're going to pre-mix our colors. So we have a very simple palette of white, raw umber, which is brown, and black. And if we have a look at our reference photo, we'll see that we need a light grey, a dark grey, and a mid-tone brown. So we'll add a little bit of white to each of those colors, and that will give us some values to get started with. We can always add to them as we go along. So I'm working on some toned paper today, but any surface would be fine. I'm just using some diluted raw umber to make a simple sketch. We'll make two parallel lines, roughly about 7 centimeters long, and then we divide those lines in half and draw a little oval on the top for the top of the jug. My oval's about 1.5 centimeters wide, but of course your measurements could be different to mine. And then the midline will help us to keep our jug symmetrical as we draw the sides in. And I've just curved it a little bit and under the lip of the jug just to make it look a bit fancy. Then we can draw a smaller line for the base. That one's about 4 centimeters, but again, your jug could be any size. Just bring the bottom in and then add a simple S shape for the handle. This is good enough just to get started with. And then we can just add a little line in for the table. I just put the table at an angle because it made for a more interesting composition. So I'm going to use a nice big brush and I'm going to start blocking in my main colors. I'm going to go with that mid-tone grey for the jug and the raw umber mixed with a little white for the tabletop. Now that our jug and table have been blocked in, we can take some of our dark grey and add it to the inside of the rim of the jug and also to the handle.
And while we've got some of that dark grey on our brush, we can also mark out the dark section of the jug as it turns away from the light, and we can fill that in with the dark grey as well. And we can pop a little bit of a darker shadow underneath the jug and down the sides as well. Now when you paint metallic surfaces like silver, they do reflect a lot of what's going on around them. So we're going to add some white to our middle grey, and we're going to start adding in the lighter parts where the light would be hitting the jug. And also the reflection down at the bottom where the light bounces off the table and onto the jug. Now the left-hand side of the jug is quite light, so we can add a little bit more white to our grey in that area, and also possibly along the bottom on the right-hand side and along the rim. Okay, at this point I'm going to take a clean dry brush. This is an old watercolor brush, but you could use a makeup brush or any other soft brush that you have. And I'm just going to softly work the colors together. I'm not pushing very hard. I don't want to lose all my details, but I do want to blend the colors and maybe remove a very little bit of the top layer of paint. Because we're working in one session today in alla prima style, it's important that we have a surface that will accept more paint, and blending will help us to do that. Now we did lose some of our details with our blending, so this is our chance to go back in with our very dark grey and just re-establish some of those areas that got blended out. So we'll go along the markings, along the top of the rim and down the sides, and just re-establish those dark areas that we've lost. And we'll do the same with the light areas that got lost. We'll just re-establish those as well. And you'll notice that the second layer goes on a lot easier than the first layer because it has something to hold on to. Now I'm going to go in with a much smaller clean dry brush, and I'm softly going to blend those additional lines in. It's important to blend them in on a smooth surface, like we're painting this metallic silver jug. So we don't want to leave any hard lines. We want it to appear that it's smooth and shiny. We only have a few minutes left, so we're just going to finish off the tabletop. I'm just adding a little white to the left-hand side of the table and a little bit on the right-hand side at the top, just to show that the light would hit the table in that area. And then I'm going to use a little bit of raw umber mixed with a tiny amount of black to make the shadow of the jug on the tabletop. We've got one or two tweaks left just to finish off. We're going to take some of our pure white now, and we're just going to add a few extra reflections here and there on the jug. We'll also use this opportunity to fix up the shape a little if it's a little bit wonky like mine is. It's a bit wonky, so we'll fix up one side, add a little bit of highlights to both sides, to the left and the right, because there's light that bounces off the surface onto the jug as well. And then we'll be done. Well, this little study of a silver jug has been fun to paint today. I love painting things with reflections. It's always a challenge, but very rewarding when it works out at the end. And it's also good practice for bigger paintings like this one I did many years ago with a similar theme. Thank you so much for watching and for following along and for subscribing. If you're feeling inspired, you might want to try these tutorials too. And I'll see you in the next video.